So I'm going to get started right away because I really want to hear what these three amazing women have to say. The first panelist we have is Tammy Bucknan. Did I say that right, Tammy? Tammy Bucknan?
No, you did not.
Buchanan. You
got it.
Okay. And Tammy is owner of Small Jobs Plumbing. I've heard a lot about your business, Tammy. I'm so excited to have you here. Tammy lives in Lower Sackville in Nova Scotia here. At 35, Tammy started out as an apprenticeship plumber and became a licensed Red Seal plumber at age 40. So any of you thinking you're too old, just remember, never. She worked for a company for 3 years and she partnered with Sherry Lynn Bain. I'm not sure if Sherry Lynn is on today, but I hope she is, when they started Small Jobs Plumbing. And that was in early 2014, and she's been in operation for 6 years now. She offers residential household plumbing. Okay, so if there's, as well, she does renovations, updates, installations, plumbing inspections, and non-emergency fixes. I like that it's non-emergency.
Yes.
She services the majority of Halifax Regional Municipality. And Tammy, I asked her why, what motivated her to start a business, and she said she was, she did her certification. She just feel like she didn't have enough money to make ends meet, and she was kind of feeling really discouraged. So she wanted to make a decent living, so she started her own business. So that's Tammy. Okay. She has offered some do-it-yourself courses for women only, and she mentioned that. I was like, oh, so love that, Tammy, and you may get lots of requests after that. I know you're too busy to do it now, but you never know. Next, we have Amanda Anderson, and Amanda is owner of Lipstick Landscaping, and Amanda's in New Brunswick. And I love the name of your business. I'm like, it's just so great. I just love it. Amanda lives in Fredericton. She started her company, Lipstick Landscaping, 7 years ago at the age of 22. And she has 7 employees, and they're all female. Amanda's expects to complete her Red Seal certification this year, but she's had some challenges with COVID and those kinds of things, but she has a goal. I asked who her customers were, and she said she has a broad-based customer clientele, but she does a lot of residential and seems to be seeing a more increase in the commercial business as well too. So really excited for you. She started out doing some business education at MCIT and UMB and just said, you know what, that's not for me. She started working seasonally out in the oil fields out west, and she came home in the summer and worked in nurseries and in the city in the botanical gardens. And that's where she kind of gained her expertise and skills. And then she started doing landscaping projects for her friends for free. Love this. This is typical, right? And then her partner said to her, you know what, you should start your own business. And so she said, why not? She went back out west, raised enough money to start her business, and started. Amanda has won the Reader's Choice Award #1 for landscaping business in Fredericton. Yay. So this is Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. Joanne is our third panelist. And These amazing women. Joanne grew up in Topsail, Newfoundland, and now lives in Greens Harbor, Trinity Bay. There's a lot of similarities. Joanne at 35 went to trade school to become an electrician. She went on to work in construction and became a journeyed, I think I'm not sure if she created this term or not, or if it exists for all of you, but I'd be interested to hear. Became a journeyed, not journeyman, Red Seal electrician. She has experience working on some of the largest projects in Newfoundland, including Hebron, Long Harbor, and CBC. About 6 years ago, in 2014, when things slowed down a little bit, Joanne decided to start her own business, J. Greenlee Electric. Her business provides small electrical fixes in homes, and she also does small reno jobs. God, I wish you were closer. 90% of her customers are women. That's so fascinating. Her business is currently on hold because she has taken a position with the Office to Advance Women Apprentices, where she advocates for young women to consider skilled trades as their first career choice. She was chosen leader in the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, lending her voice on the National Supporting Women in Trades Task Force. She sits on the Provincial Apprenticeship Certification Board. She is a facilitator for women in science, engineering, trades, and technology, where she teaches leadership workshops for women. And she has been selected to attend the Governor General's Leadership Conference in 2020. She forgot to tell me she teaches yoga online. So thank you, ladies. I'm so honored and pleased. And I know that behind the scenes, you probably have a lot of jobs going on. And the fact that you took time out of your day today to be here we're very, very grateful. So this is how the session is going to start. I'm going to ask them a question each, and they will all have a time to respond to those questions. And then we'll have about 20-25 minutes where the audience can ask you questions, okay? So the first question I'm asking, and if we could go in the same order that I introduced you, that would be great. So that would be Amanda, Joanne, and Tammy, Amanda, and Joanne, okay? So Tammy, I'm gonna ask you first, what are the three priority actions and or motivational factors that led you from business idea to thinking, oh, I got a great business idea, to becoming a woman business owner?
Well, I could only really come up with two. The first one you already briefly touched on in my intro, which is basically after 8 years working in the trade, and all the sacrifices that I made to get there, I still was barely making ends meet to support myself and my son. So I knew I had a choice to make. On one hand, I either stick with it and continue on the way that it was going by just barely getting by, or I make a leap of faith and attempt to start my own company. My life partner at the time, Sherry, who is my business partner still, was also a big motivator in making this move to help support me with her broad base of social media knowledge and marketing skills. She knew she could get the word out to have work come in. It was just up to me to be able to satisfy the customers and do the work. So we decided to do that, and I left my comfy job to challenge this role. And it's been all good, absolutely all good. And I knew from being in the environment for the 8 years that I wasn't going to be challenged in finding the work, because I heard it over and over again how refreshing it was to see a female in the trades multiple times. So especially the area I chose, which was going to be residential, I felt confident to know that I would be well received and that things would be good.
Wow.
And that's the end of mine. Those are the two.
That's great. Thank you. Amanda, would you like me to repeat that question, or are you good with it? So what were the top 3 priority actions or motivational factors that led you from business idea to becoming a woman business owner?
Well, mine's more of a motivation kind of thing. The motivational factors that kind of led from a business idea to a business really came down to, if a man can do it, I can too, right?
I wish my daughter was here.
The motivation for having your own business is really being able to create something and mentor other women to things that they thought they'd never be able to do before, whether it's driving a truck and trailer, backing that trailer up into a tight spot, or even running the skid steer. It really makes me really happy when the girls are like, wow, I just did that. I'm like, yeah, you did. And it's just an amazing feeling looking at a job when it's completed that you designed with the help of such an amazing crew.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Joanne, what would be the top 3 priority actions and or motivational factors that led you from business IT to women business operator?
Sure. Well, I saw a need as well. I was already doing some small jobs while I was working on other projects. So, you know, people's replacing heaters, thermostats, new lights that people had purchased. And I kept hearing that it was really hard to get a larger electrical company to come in and do something that would only be a half a day's work. So I had talked about it with a friend, and I said, oh, you know, I don't know if I should do this. And he said, listen, you need $50 to get business cards. And he pulled out $50 and he goes, there you go, you're started. And it was kind of funny at the time. We laughed, haha, but really that's kind of how it happened. And I think one of the other things is I wanted a little bit more of the flexibility. I felt confident in my own work. I knew I could do these jobs. So I decided just to go for it.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And you're welcome. I want to answer too, you said earlier about using the term journeyed electrician.
Yes.
There's all kinds of conversations if we're using journeyman, journeywoman, journey person. And I know British Columbia just uses the word journey level. So takes all the gender out of it. I'm a journeyed electrician.
Yeah. Okay, great. I really, really like that. Thank you. Thank you.
No worries.
So Tammy, this one's back to you. What would be the top 3 pieces of advice you would give to your younger, inexperienced self if you were to start your business today? So put yourself back in that.
Okay, well, the first one would be to educate myself on taxes. Visit the Canada.ca website and read through the beast so that you clearly understand what you owe, when you owe it, because the last thing you want is for CRA to be on you. They don't care what your personal situation is. They want their money when it's due. That's one of the mistakes I made starting out. I got a little behind. And it adds up really fast. So it took a little while for me to catch up and get that underway. So starting out with understanding exactly how that process works, setting up your business account with CRA, and just, you know, educating yourself so you're familiar, because as soon as you pay yourself, you're going to owe source deductions the 15th of the following month. So it happens really fast. And once you're in the midst of doing all of your work, it becomes very stressful to try to manage something like that you're not educated on. That's number one. Number two would be to have a plan on what type of systems you want to use to keep track of your finances. For me, some people choose to get a bookkeeper or an accountant to manage all of that for them. But in my case, I tried to keep the overhead costs very lean. So I've always done my own books. And there are many different database type of sources out there. So finding the one that fits you is good to have starting right from day one as well. And then the third one would be to not bite off more than you can chew. Seriously, you will be so much more successful giving yourself the time with a couple projects that you can, give all of your energy to make sure that at the end of the day, you're happy with your work and so is your client. If you take on too much, you're spreading yourself too thin. And the last thing you want is an unhappy customer that will hurt you for years to come.
Oh my God, that's fantastic advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really, I mean, in the centers we share that, but when it comes from somebody like you and looking back now, that's really great advice. Thank you so much for sharing. Amanda, what would be your top 3 pieces of advice that you would give to your younger, inexperienced self if you were to start a business today?
Well, I would have to definitely say you can't please everyone. That was really tough for me to get through that stuff, because no matter how hard you work on some things, no matter how hard you try, sometimes it just doesn't, sometimes you can't please everybody. That's probably been the hardest thing for me. Not everyone is looking for you to succeed, unfortunately, so be careful who you take advice from. If I took advice from every single person, then I definitely wouldn't be here today, that's for sure. And then when things get tough, you just gotta, and you feel like giving up, you just kind of have to keep on going through. There's definitely been a lot of situations that I was kind of back and forth about, but if you're passionate enough about it, you can keep on going.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Amanda. Joanne, what would be the top 3 pieces of advice you would give to your younger, inexperienced self if you were to start a business today?
I think Tammy nailed it with the accounting. Get a really good accountant that you trust, and then get them to set everything up for you. Because if I'm not strong in that area, a great electrician, taxes and that, it's just not my forte. And I just want someone to call me and say, send a payment at this time. So I think that's one of the biggest things that becomes very stressful when you're trying to run a business, please your customers, and then you have this a whole other thing hanging on the side of you. Another thing Amanda just said, if I listened to some people when I first started out, I would never started my business. I used to get from the guys at the wholesalers where I buy my supplies, they'd say, well, where's your truck? I ran an electrical business out of a small station wagon for years. And I'd say, well, I don't need a truck. I have everything here. And they, well, you got to have a truck and you got to have your name on it. And you got to have hats. And I was like, okay, great. Get back to you. And then they would tell me that my business plan, I'm never going to make enough money and it's not going to work. And I'd say, great, thanks. And then they'd see me 2 years later and they'd be like, so what are you doing now? I'm like, still running my business. So they would always be quite shocked that I was able to succeed. And I think the thing that was really important, especially for what I chose to do, was to decide on what you want to do. Like Tammy and myself, we do small residential, and to stick with that. So especially when you first start out and you're not super busy all the time, you get people who are like, hey, come wire my house. And if I get into doing that, then it's taking me away from what I really wanted to do, which were smaller jobs, more manageable. And I think it's really important to try and be as clear as you can and then stick with it, even though people are going to ask you to do all kinds of stuff because, you know, they're going to, it's construction and people are interesting. So, you know, deciding what you want to do. You know, I get a lot of calls from people who are like, listen, I just wired my shed. Can you get me a permit? No, you just did my work. So I'm not gonna go get you a permit for $200 and call it a day. Like, that's my job. So really figuring out what your plan is and then sticking to it, I think, is really important.
Wow, that's great advice. So I guess the next question is, and this is to you, Tammy, what supports did you use to tap in to help you overcome any challenges you faced along the way?
Well, there were a couple supports. We were a member of the Center of Women in Business. The first couple of years we were in business. It was comforting for myself and my business partner to just know that it's a phone call away to receive any type of support that we needed. Also, that provided us with an avenue to get our name out there, which is key. Yeah. And it also brought us a fair number of referrals. You know, women supporting women is the name of the game. For me personally, on the job, I relied heavily on a lot of the relationships that I had built with other plumbers and colleagues throughout my years of training, because we can't all be strong in everything. Plumbing in my particular trade is very broad, and heating, for instance, isn't one of my strong points. I don't have an enormous amount of experience with it. So I had a list of guys, unfortunately, no girls, guys that I could call when I was in a pickle and starting to instantly feel overwhelmed because I'd never been there and done it before. That I could call and just walk through the process. And I used a number of them. My brother, fortunately, is a plumber as well. So he was one of my go-tos. But for me, having that phone call away of a few guys that I had known and built good relationships with could just get me through some of the challenging jobs that I had been faced with.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you, Tammy. Amanda, what supports did you use to tap into your, to help you kind of overcome the challenges you faced along the way? Oh, can't hear you.
Sorry about that.
Happens all the time.
I didn't use any government supports or anything like that when I first started my business, but I did have a lot of support from my friends, my family, my partner, other people in this industry, and a bunch of old lads that just kind of took me under their wing, and now I'm like a daughter to them, and they've all helped me out great. You all know who you are, and I wouldn't be here without every single one of them cheering me on in the background kind of thing. But yeah, no, they gave me advice when I needed it. But I am now a member of the Landscape New Brunswick, and they're extremely helpful for everything that I need, all the questions, courses, pretty much anything that I need with their help with, they're there to help me. So that's really great too.
Wow, great to have that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Joanne, would you like to share with us any supports you used along the way?
Sure. So initially I did go to, after my friend gave me my $50 for my business cards, I did go to NLOWE and worked on a business plan with them. And there was some funding at the time that was available, but I as well decided just to go my own. And having the mentors, the people that I had worked with in the past, one of the most terrifying things, of course, is being on a job with customers and not knowing how to either fix something or understand it because it's just something you've never seen before. One of the great things about having a partner to work with is you guys, you know, we get to talk back and forth. I'm on my own most of the time. So I had a couple of bosses that I can call up, like you said, Tammy, and it's like, I'm in an attic, it's 90 degrees and there's a brown wire. Like, what is that for? And you know, my old boss is on the other end killing himself laughing because, well, it must be really hot up there. And, you know, keep me going. I was like, just tell me what the brown wire is. So I think over the years, those people have really, you know, like Amanda said, they want to see you succeed. They want to see me do well. And we pass business back and forth. Work that I'm not going to do, I pass on to him. Things he's not going to do, he passes back to me. So having that is a huge, huge support.
Oh, fantastic. Wow. Sounds like you got some great support. And I'm sure you have some good stories, all of you, to tell as well, too.
Oh, yeah.
So this question, I'm trying to keep it tight into our timeline, and Isabel's probably going to start flagging me there soon. But, and this one is one where I come across often. I do a lot of work. I've done a lot of work in rural areas, and women, you know, I think sometimes we don't know, where do you see, and I'll start with you, Tammy, where do you see the opportunities for women interested in starting in a business in Atlantic Canada and the trades? Where do you see those opportunities, and is there a demand for it? So, you know, I mean, obviously you get information sometimes, like you all were told, you're crazy, you don't have a truck, or so. Where, now that you're in it and you have that experience, do you look around and go, oh my God, there's an opportunity there, an opportunity there? So where do those opportunities exist, Tammy, based on your experience?
There is a tremendous opportunity for female in trades, whether it be electrician, carpentry, tile work, you name it, because I am every week, at least once or twice a week, I'm on a job doing, let's say, a bathroom renovation or something as simple as changing a toilet. And I'm asked, do you know a female electrician? Do you know a female carpenter? Because people want to support women in trades. Now, 99% of the time, this is women asking me, women, again, wanting to support women, but the demand is definitely there. The homeowners love it. So I'm very confident that if these girls can make it through the apprenticeship, and it's hard, but if they can make it through, there is definitely opportunity. And the times are changing slowly, but they are changing. And people out there love seeing females doing untraditional trades. They absolutely love it. It blows their mind.
Great. That's so great to hear. Amanda, based on your experience now in the landscaping, where do you see the opportunities for women interested in starting a business in Atlantic Canada and the trades?
Well, I'm definitely there with Tammy. The customers love seeing women in the business. I think there's extreme demand for women in the business, because it really does blow their mind, as Tammy was saying, to see us out there shoveling, giving her every day, seeing them run equipment. They're like, whoa, you guys can do that? So women in heavy equipment for sure. Landscaping, construction, yeah, I think it's great. Like, do anything.
Yeah, so true.
Joanne?
90% of my customer base is women. I don't advertise. I never advertised from the very first day. I never put in an ad for anything. All of my business was word of mouth. One of the things that people loved about me as a contractor is I'd make an appointment and say, I'll be there at 9 o'clock. And at 9 o'clock, I was knocking on their door. If I was going to be 10 minutes late, I called and said, listen, I'm going to be 10 minutes late. They were just like, wow, this is amazing. You're here when you say you're going to be here. So I think that we do provide excellent customer service. And I believe that a lot of the women are the ones who are making the decisions when it comes to the kind of work that I do, either purchasing lights, doing a renovation. It's their idea. They're running the jobs out of their own home. And, you know, I've done some great little jobs for people who, you know, woman has said, I've asked my husband now for the last 2 months to put up this light. I called you and you came the next day and put it up. It's just that simple. She's like, don't worry, all my friends will know. So I do believe there's a huge, huge demand for that type of customer service. And women feel more comfortable having a woman walk in their house and listen to what they need. And unfortunately, sometimes guys will come in and say, oh, no, honey, that's not what you need. Let me tell you. And I know an instance of a woman who hired a contractor to do a kitchen renovation for her. She had an old like farmhouse sink that she just was in love with, and she wanted that in there. And she was explaining to him how she wanted it there. And he kept saying, no, honey, like, you don't want that there. Finally, she said, that's it, you're fired. Like, I really don't care what you want. I'm paying you to do what I want. And she got someone else, and she said, first thing I said was, that sink's going in, so don't even talk about it. So, you know, I think women want to be heard, and they know what they want, and we show up and actually listen and say, sure, if that's what you want, it makes no difference to me. You know, at the end of the day, I'm just here to service your electrical needs. So I think there is a great demand. And it's like Tammy said, when I'm out on jobs, I get all the time, do you know a carpenter? Do you know a plumber? So if anybody was going to start a contracting company that just had all women, I'll guarantee it will fly.
That's so many great messages. I think right at this point, I think we're going to move into the question and answer, because I think we have lots of the participants who are anxious to ask you some questions. So just a couple of things. I'm going to put on my old lady glasses here. And so if you have a question, you can go into the chat room, and both myself and Sarah will be monitoring that. So please mention the name of the panelist that you would like to answer your question. So you may say, you know, I'd like Amanda, could you answer this question, or Tammy, or Joanne? We will, and then raise your hand. So there's a little hand button in the bottom screen in the participants, and there's a little hand for those of you that don't have any experience. So raise your hand, and I will try and get to you. I mean, we have quite a few people here today, so I'll try and get to you. I may not, but I'll do my best. And as well, we'll go back and forth into the chat so that we can try and reach as many of you as possible. So let me see, am I seeing any hands? Oh my God, we have 51. Those are really popular.
Lizette would like to ask a question.
Pardon?
Lizette would like to ask a question.
So Lizette, if you can just unmute yourself.
Yes. Hi everybody. It's a pleasure to meet you all.
Hi, Lizette.
My question is for anybody that wants to answer it. I've always wanted to have my own business, but I've never felt like I had the confidence to do it. And my question is, did you guys have the confidence when you started, or did starting it help give you the confidence?
I can answer that. It's Joanne. I know initially I had lots of concerns because the electrical trade is so broad. There's so many different things. I was concerned that I might not know one thing or another. But the more I went out and did jobs, the more my confidence did grow. So it definitely, compared from day one to year 2 or 3, you're seeing a lot of the same things. Newfoundland and St. John's especially, we have a lot of really, really old houses. Oh, yes. So we see a lot of very interesting wiring techniques. And that was definitely a challenge that I was nervous about, because and all the houses are wood and they're all connected. So definitely your confidence will grow. And I think it's something like Tammy said earlier, if you're concerned about that, just keep your job small to start. Right. You know, start small, get in there, do a few jobs. Once you get those under your belt, you know, there's no one that says that you have to go out guns a-blazing and have 40 customers in your first week.
That's a guy thing anyway.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah, and
yeah?
Sorry.
I was just going to say, did anybody else want to answer it?
No, I was just going to say I agree with Joanne 100%. I was terrified starting my business. Fear was a very, very large factor sitting there. But as she said, as you go through the process, you take one experience at a time. And then the feedback that you get from the client when you invest your time and energy and end up with a satisfied product at the end of the day, that's where your confidence comes into play. You know, doing it and getting the experience, that's where your confidence gets built, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Go for it.
Great question. Anybody else? I'm just gonna check and see. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you another question then. What would you say, I'll ask you, Tammy, first, would be the top 3 characteristics you believe women business owners need to develop to succeed in a primarily male-dominated sector such as trades?
Well, we touched on this a second ago. Even though you're terrified, you have to breathe confidence. You're there to help a client in a situation that they know nothing about. And if they sense that you're scared and nervous, it's not going to sit very well. So have faith in yourself. You are capable. You have the training. You have the ability. So breathe that confidence. The second one for me would be to remain open-minded. There are 1,000 different ways to do things. Every new experience is a new opportunity to learn and to grow. So don't always stick to the exact same, you know, branch out on occasion and do something a little different. And the third one would be to definitely know what your limitations are. We aren't men after all. And we have to do things a little differently sometimes to maintain always the same result. It just takes a little bit of brain power, which us as women are more than capable of having. So those are my 3.
Those are great. Thank you. Amanda?
Well, I definitely think it's scary to get into business in a male-dominated trade. But if but anybody can do it. I started at the age of 22 and, you know, it was very scary at the time, but definitely the 3 characteristics that you need to have is you need to have a good backbone. You need to be able to stick up for yourself and you need to do whatever your guts tell you to do. If you stay true to yourself, you can do anything.
Wow. Great advice. Joanne?
It's interesting because I had follow your gut as well, like follow your own instincts. If you're thinking, I don't know, don't do it. Really don't. Confidence in your work. And I think when we all got cell phones, that was a really great thing because you could be in talking to a customer going, well, I'm really not sure about that. And you can go out to your car and Google it and be like, oh, right. But it's like Tammy says, if something's going wrong, someone's calling you because they have confidence that you know what you're doing. And be authentic, you know, be really authentic. If it's something that's really messed up, you really have to just be like, wow, never seen it before. It's really odd. Let's figure it out. And the ability to pivot, the ability to say, this is not working. How do I pivot and get back on track? When we talk about accounting, taxes, and things like that. Originally, when I started out, I had this idea I was going to have everything was going to be online and you could book an appointment and you could do all this stuff. Well, what it ended up being was more of a pain in the butt. And I went to, here's my cell phone, and I handwrite my invoices, which seems like it's going backwards in time, but actually for me, it's just so much easier to then, at the end of the day, I have my invoices, I can sit down, plop it into a spreadsheet, put it in an envelope for the month, that goes off to the accountant. So even though I had these grandiose ideas of how my business would run, I realized financially what it would cost me to run that, and that it really wasn't helping or saving me any time or money. So being able to just say, nope, that's not working. Let's try something else. So being able to pivot and like Tammy said, being open-minded to that and not just bullying through it.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you. I think we have a question here. Let me see.
We have a question from Debbie, and then we have a couple of questions in the chat box. Denise?
Okay, so Debbie.
Okay.
Go ahead.
When you're ready.
You're good to go. First of all, when I opened my storefront in 2015, Tammy did my plumbing. So I wanted to just give her a holler.
You did. Love that.
And so my question is for Tammy. I wonder how, whether you leverage the safety feature, the safety of having a woman come into your home or your establishment to do your work, right? There's a lot of comfort, at least it was for me, in having a woman come in and do work. You leverage that in your business for sales?
I think it's one of my leading factors as to why my word of mouth is so strong, because it's exciting. You do work for someone, you do well, they're satisfied with your work. They tell at least 10 other women who either write your business card down or they'll text me and ask me to text them the number. And I've gone to numerous houses where I've been in a couple different newspaper articles because it drew a little bit of attention with me being a female operated plumbing company. And I've gone to houses where they've kept that article on their fridge, and they take me in and they say, this is how we remembered how to call you. We knew we need you someday. But yes, it's, I get asked that question many, many times when I've done a few interviews and stuff, like, what is it that makes women more comfortable to have women in their homes? And it's kind of a difficult question to answer. It's just a human nature thing. Yeah, it's definitely been part of the success of my business for sure, is the fact that I'm female, no question.
And Debbie, I've heard that as well from other women, maybe single women or, you know, women who are living on their own, that they just felt more comfortable being in their home alone with a worker that was another woman. That somebody had told me once that they often get their brother to come over because they want a guy in the house when there's another guy in the house working, and that's for their own security. And, you know, I know lots of people have been through a lot of things in their life, and just that little bit of comfort to know that when they open the door, it's another woman there, I think is definitely a selling feature.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, I know
whether we call it that or not, whether we, you know, say straight up front that that's what it is, I do believe that it is.
And then there's the tidiness, right? Because I think that Tammy left it tidier than she found it.
Well, when I worked a good day.
When I worked for Ted Chalk, I did all his finished work. So he was residential and did a lot of houses. And I always installed all the lights, all the heaters, all the switches, plates, everything. Because he said, I can send you into a job. He said, you show up, you get it all done. Everything is tidy so that when the customer comes back in, that's one of the final things that's done in a house. And they're always checking in on their brand new house. They want to come in and see all the boxes are put in the corner. Everything looks nice and tidy. And somebody hasn't walked in with big dirty boots, and, you know, that there's care has been taken. So.
Great question. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. We have a question from BJ Danilchuk. How are you imagining or planning for your business to mature, evolve, or grow? And this question is for each panelist. I don't know if who would like to start. Would you like to start? Or do you plan for it? Sure, anybody?
Sure. I mean, right now I do have my business on hold. I still get lots of calls. You know, I have a contract now till April 2021. Who knows what'll happen there? I mean, hopefully I'll continue to do advocating work because I really do love that. But I could see me getting my business on the go again. Like I said, I get calls all the time, and I'm a one-woman show, and I, you know, have a couple of people that I drag along when I need help, and it really works for me. I can't see growing my business. I'm not interested in having a whole bunch of employees or that kind of responsibility. especially when we're talking about electrical. You know, people can really get hurt. I'm not there with that. But I'd get it on the go again. It's great opportunities for me.
Thank you. Tammy?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the similar boat. Right now, I am a one-woman show as well in the plumbing aspect. Sherry still manages all of the social media stuff, but I'm quite content just managing myself, not having to worry about other employees currently. It just works for me to maintain that life balance, which I really struggled with in the first few years of the business. Maybe down the road, there's still thoughts of possibly franchising the company. But if I were to branch out at all, that's likely the route that I would go.
Fantastic. And I'm interested to hear Amanda. I mean, you probably didn't start off with 7 employees, you had 7. So Amanda, tell us how you went from yourself to now having 7 employees.
Well, when I first started, I didn't have much to work with. I had a truck and a utility trailer, and it was just myself for pretty much for the first 2 years. And then I always say we, but, and then I started getting a little out of hand, getting busier and busier. So I hired another girl on. And then, so every year I buy a different piece of equipment, or I get upgraded with some different skills. Like I have my pesticide license, you know, like different things every year. Pretty much we grow a little bit every year. We buy a different piece of equipment. Like I said, we're getting more yard installs. Like that's the whole house, topsoil sod, hardscaping. We would like to get an excavator maybe this year and start getting into some other stuff. Pretty much, and the girls do courses. We're always upgrading all the time. Yeah, like we're planning on getting a piece of property and getting our own shop up in the near future. And yeah, it's going really good. We're always trying to stay on top of what we can do better, what I can do better as a boss, how I can treat everybody as well. Treat the girls good without working them so hard all the time, because really we just go like crazy, and it's definitely hard. Like for my relationship with my partner and my family and my friends, they don't really see me till Christmas. I was just in a wedding, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll see you at the ugly sweater party," and I was like, "That's pretty much it." You know, sacrifice a lot to keep everything going, but it's definitely worth it. I love what I do, so you know, it's worth it in the end.
You were happy with making that decision and ready to grow your company.
Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely hard and pretty stressful, especially like trying to keep everybody safe, especially during the COVID, all of that stuff going on. There was definitely a lot of stuff for us, especially with, you can't keep everybody in the same truck. So that was kind of hard at first, and we got another vehicle for that. And anyway, so yeah, it's a wild ride, but it's definitely worth it.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's so interesting, different perspectives and where you are in that. I have a question here from M. Driscoll to everyone. Do you order apparel for your business? If so, do you order online using something like Vistaprint or use a local supplier?
I use a local supplier. One of my girlfriends, Anna, owns Sunny Bank Print House in St. John. She made these shirts for us. They're really great, and they're sweat wicking. And so we really like them. And I order my business cards from Vistaprint. They're pretty decent price. So
yeah, okay, that's good information. Thank you.
Same here. I've only ever used Vistaprint for t-shirts, which get pretty dirty and worn, but nonetheless, it's a piece of advertising, and my business cards come from Vistaprint as well. So they've been my only avenue. Just they're so affordable, and it's so easy to do it.
Yeah, definitely made it's just changed the whole game, hey, for marketing.
Oh yeah.
So anybody else have any questions? I have one more if nobody else has one. Am I missing anybody, girls? No? Okay, so I'm going to ask this last question, and the last question I had is, would you recommend a woman start a business in today's COVID environment? And if yes, why? And if no, why not? So maybe we could start with you, Tammy.
Okay. I honestly don't think COVID has a huge impact on changing my opinion about the demand with females in trades. The very first part of the pandemic, the tail end of March and April, yes, I did slow down. It was new to everybody, including myself. There was about a 6-week period where I didn't work much at all. But after that, after people started to get a little more comfortable, we were all educated on how to protect ourselves. I'm busier than ever. And I don't know if it's because everybody is trying to cram everything in before the next wave hits. It's kind of what I feel like, because I've been busier this summer than ever. But it hasn't, other than the very beginning when everybody was really terrified, it hasn't impacted me in any way.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. Amanda?
Yeah, I'm with Tammy on this one as well. We are slammed this year, so if you want to start up a landscaping business this year, hey, it's definitely good. But yeah, so it's been crazy this year. It's really like I'm the one that answers the calls, the emails, and tries to keep up with everything because we don't have an office person. So I find that a little stressful sometimes, trying to deal with all that. But yeah, I think it might be, depending on what trade you want to get into, it might be a little hard at first until revenues for the clientele kind of go back to normal. But it doesn't mean it's not the right time. I think any time as good as ever, COVID or no COVID, just as long as you have a good game plan and stick to it, I think you'd be fine.
Yeah, I have to agree with that too. I mean, right now, the world is, as we know, it has changed, and this is, COVID is something that's going to be around. Waiting for something to change, I don't think that. I think that if you're interested in starting a business, why not now? There's certain things you're going to have to do that may be a little bit different if you're going into people's homes and things like that. But I think if you're straight up, like if I was going to go into someone's home, I'd let them know I was going to wear a mask and use hand sanitizer and just tell them what the precautions I was taking while I'm in their home, and then they can make their own judgment if that's going to work for them. But yeah, I mean, I see no reason not to. I really don't.
Wow. Well, you guys are all troopers. That's why, because you just kind of go out and just do it. That's why.
$50 to get your business cards.
Love that. Love that. So we're kind of coming. We got about 2 minutes. Well, go. Would you like to? Yeah. This lady here has her hand up. Go ahead.
I was just wondering about insurance and stuff like that. What do you guys do for insurance? Do you have any, or what kind?
100%. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yes.
me as an electrician, I have to have insurance. I mean, we're working with electricity and people's homes. So I get $2 million coverage, and that covers me and the work that I do. And it costs me about $800 a year. And one of the things that I do advertise is that I'm a journeyed electrician with my papers, and that I am fully insured, because as you know, you can go on Kijiji right now and there's loads of electricians, but are they insured? Do they have their papers? I don't know. So that's something that's important. It was important to me. I don't feel comfortable doing work without full insurance.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You definitely need to have insurance. We also have a $2 million insurance just in case anything happens with the digging and everything, and definitely wouldn't be able to work without it.
Wow, that's a great question. Thank you.